Can't find my other hat, my army hat. I'll wear that tonight. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So I'll get relaxed morning all morning and got all of my laundry done yesterday. And Chico is in the window relaxing. And I think what I'm burning myself out is when I do the long videos. If I stay at my 20-minute videos, I think I'll be okay. And just stay at like the 10. Cause I got a lot of 5-minute ones. The 2-minute ones are really good. So I got quite a bit of 2-minute ones. And then, the 10-minute ones, 15. We only need the 15 ones anyways. Long ones is, only when something important that we have to hear. But, we play our regular ones like Vinny videos, Trish videos, and all the rest of them. Our regulars. But I got to try to stay away from the long ones. I got to turn the TV down. And we got our eyes first today. Going, no hurry. You busy today? Right now, Trump is live. Pam Bondi's on with Pete there. We'll go there in a minute. We'll listen for about 5-10 minutes. See what they're saying. And I don't know if you guys like how I post my headline there on my post there. We got a new Mel video from last night. Mel came out with an hour intel video, a little over an hour. So spies, you out there? And okay, Lori. So I know everybody. It's the summertime. Everybody's out going to weather, but hopefully they're all listening. Another good show yesterday. I guess I just have to keep it easy because we're getting a lot of people back in my channel. So if I get more people, I guess I have to do 2 shows. So I'll just have to stay away from those long ones. So, not sure how many people will be in today, but see how things go during the show. Entertainment purposes, opinions only, and everything here on this channel, YouTube. And credit to every channel that gives out the intel. Because there's going to be a lot of intel coming out, lots of intel. All the way up till the 4th of July. And then after that, we'll see what happens. Sounds good. Have fun. So we are going to go ahead and get started up. We're going to go live with Trump speaking right now. We're listening in for a little bit. I don't know how long this has been on. Maybe it just started.
A couple questions for you. For you and Secretary Hegseth, is the administration supportive of sending National Guardsmen to cities for the express purpose of aiding deportation and immigration enforcement efforts?
To expand deportation efforts?
Sending National Guardsmen to U.S. cities for the express purpose of aiding deportation and immigration enforcement
What
efforts.
we've done so far is stand alongside federal law enforcement in every way, facilities and personnel, but also we have We have a great deal of lift inside the military. We're able to move assets in a way that no other aspect of the U.S. government can. And so where we can rapidly assist with mass deportations, we have been happy to do that.
One more question, if I may. Is the administration at all supportive of potential measures to crack down or regulate or even ban apps that track ICE agents' locations?
What do you mean by that?
Like specific apps that are used to track the location of ICE agents?
I guess we'll do that. I'm not a big app guy. I'm not into that too much. I think Pam might be it. Let's go.
Yes.
Give me a good answer there.
Yes. These organizations, President Trump, are coming in and their apps to track our federal law enforcement officers, and it jeopardizes their lives, where they're going to be, their location. And we've actually been working really well with the tech companies who have been cooperating because they don't want our law enforcement officers to get injured. So yes.
Well, I mean, I see it with ICE where they're having, where they define where they live, who they are. And, I didn't have a big view on the mask, but I now understand why they should wear masks. I think it's very dangerous for them not to wear masks. They can do whatever they want. I notice some do it and some don't, but it's pretty dangerous. But when you look at, you talk about that question, I think it's very dangerous, and I think you're coming down on that very hard, right? Yeah, please.
Sir, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. When you were running for re-election in 2024, you released a video statement where you made this exact promise to show no mercy on the cartels and employ every military asset necessary to combat them. In that same video, you also said that you plan to expose all the bribes and corruptions with politicians and the cartels.
We're doing that.
Has your
we're
task
trying to
force
do
been
that.
looking into that in American politicians?
Yeah, where the money's coming from. Because you see it. Like even that garbage deal they had this weekend, which was embarrassing to them, and the crowds were much more, the crowds were not big. Those crowds were not big at all. But when you look at signs, and they're all made beautifully, the yellow signs, I saw the yellows, the blues, but they're all made professionally in a printing shop, looks like on Madison Avenue someplace. Some guy is paying for all that stuff. And we don't mind protest. Protest is a good thing. I protest. I'm always protesting, right? But when you see some of these people are going crazy. They're going crazy because they're getting paid. Because there's no reason for them to be going crazy. But you watch some of them, and they're professional agitators. And we are finding out who's paying them. Yeah, we have a lot of information about who they are. You're going to be very surprised when you find out.
I have a question for Secretary Hegseth. Sir, a memo circulating on social media details the establishment of a National Guard response force that's going to be trained in crowd control and civil unrest and deployed in all 50 states by April of 2026. Can you verify the authenticity of that memo, and do you have any more information on the operations?
I'm not going to answer particulars on something that may be in the planning process, but we definitely do have multiple layers of National Guard response forces, whether it's in each state, whether it's regionally, whether it's Title 10 active duty, whether it's Washington, D.C. We've got a lot of different ways that.
Okay. They're just talking the basic stuff there. Let's give an update on that. All right, we're going to do the first video. I believe it's under 8 minutes. Here.
Didn't expect what came next. Thousands of you answered, and you taught me something I got wrong. And it's something I'll never forget. We cry because we love the USA. We cry because we are proud Americans. And we are willing to defend or die for our country if we have to.
Lisa,
God bless the USA.
how's it going,
First,
Lisa? It's been a
if
long
you've ever
time.
felt that lump in your
Your
throat
first time in chat.
and wondered if it was just you, it isn't. I cry every time. No fail. I love America, and I'm thankful for all those who defend us.
Oh,
But then so many of you told me the same thing, and you were right. I left out the most important part.
dude
the
died
people.
2018.
You left out the
Lisa.
most important part, the
I
reason the
got a
flag
new
was still
dog,
standing.
Chico.
because of the men who gave their lives to hold that flag up. The flag stood because every time she started to fall, a brave American soldier would rush out of safety to hold up the flagpole. And when he died, keeping our flag from falling, more would rush out to keep it flying. I'll be honest with you. Those comments moved me so much, I had to go back and make sure I had the real story right. So I dug into what actually happened that night at Fort McHenry, and the truth is even more incredible. It wasn't an empty fort. It was a star-shaped fortress guarding Baltimore Harbor. And that night, it held about 1,000 Americans under a young major named George Armistead. For 25 hours straight, British warships rained down more than 1,500 shells, bombs, and rockets. The rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air. All of it right over their heads all night long. The British couldn't break through. Sunken ships and American cannons kept the whole fleet at bay. So they tried to pound the fort into surrender. And at one point, a bomb crashed straight through the roof of the fort's powder magazine. Enough gunpowder to send every soul there into the sky, and it didn't go off. The rain, the grace of God,
this is kind of
snuffed out the fuse.
one here.
And throughout all of it, the garrison did not break. They did not surrender. They held the line, hour after hour, in the dark. A small storm flag flew through the rain that night, and at dawn, when the guns finally fell silent, they lowered it. And they raised her, the great garrison flag, 30 by 42 feet, sewn by a Baltimore woman named Mary Pickersgill. And out on the water, a lawyer named Francis Scott Key held on a British ship all night, certain the fort had fallen, looked up through the smoke and saw her still there, still flying. So no, the bodies didn't hold the pole up. Something harder did. 1,000 people who simply would not fall. The flag stood there because they stood. And that's the part I should have told you from the very beginning. The flag still stands. And then one of you shared something I haven't been able to stop
my
thinking
parents,
about.
2024.
When I was in basic training, a drill sergeant told me the flag doesn't wave because of the wind. The flag waves from the last breath of every soldier who has died defending the flag and the country it represents. I've never looked at the flag the same since. It isn't the wind, and so many of you said it in your own way. It isn't the wind that's moving the flag, it's the breath from the prayers of all the men and women who gave their all, that our flag would keep flying, high and free, and never touch the ground. Our flag does not fly because the wind moves it. It flies because the last breath of each soldier who died protecting it. May she never touch the ground. Because for so many of you, this was never just history. It's your family. It's the flag that's over my father's coffin for his service and his active duty in 2 wars, Korea and Vietnam. One of you wrote something I'm going to carry with me for a long time. Why do I, a 72-year-old Jewish biracial American, cry? Because I remember my father, who was on Guadalcanal, my mother, an 18-year-old widow after Pearl Harbor, my grandfather who served in China, my great-great-grandfather who served in the cavalry in the Civil War, and the ancestors who came from Europe in 1643 and landed in Jamestown. I cry because they lifted us up on their shoulders and gave us this country, and I'm so thankful for every one of them. For all of us who have lost a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, a mom, a dad, we know the cost of freedom.
Yep.
We have a lifetime to remember a life that could have been. Thank you for your service. We won't let anyone forget you. To every family that's ever been handed that folded flag, thank you. We will never forget. This is tough to read. And a lot of you answered the question the whole world has been asking. Why this hit so hard at a game? We played at sporting events to remind us that, though we may be rivals on the field, we are all brothers, ready to defend the flag, the country, and each other. Rivals on the field, brothers off it. And right now, the whole world is watching. Since I was a child, when the American Army was fighting in Vietnam, I heard this song. I didn't understand the lyrics, but the melody made me admire the American soldiers. Because you can come here from any corner of the earth and become one of us. Ronald Reagan said it best. You can move to France, but that doesn't make you French. You can move to Turkey or Japan, but that won't make you Turkish or Japanese. But you can move here from any corner of this world and become an American. I hope our visitors from the World Cup understand that. We're all family here. We're so proud you're here. We're not crying because we think we're better. We're crying because we love her. And we hope you love hers we hope you love yours just the same. Take the American spirit home with you and never forget it. The flag still stands tonight. And now I know she stands up because you hold her up. This 62-year-old man is crying, God bless America, and happy 250. And this year, she turns 250 years old, 2.5 centuries. Through every war, every loss, every dark night, we weren't sure we'd make it through. And she is still standing. So thank you for every comment, every story, every name you've shared. Keep them coming. I read them all.
Okay, I hope that was a very important one to get out. Thought that was a real powerful one there. The next two are the former presidents. Everybody played them yesterday. It's 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes on both of them. We played it a long time ago. Chico?
Serious a threat to our national security of these communist subversive activities in the United States.
Hold that for
Well, I think they're serious. I think it's a matter that we should continue to give great care and attention to. We should support the laws which the United States has passed in order to protect us from those who would destroy us from within. We should sustain the Department of Justice in its efforts and the FBI, and we should be continually alert. I think if the United States is maintaining a strong society here in the United States, I think that we can meet any internal threat. The major threat is external and will continue.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silent,
got an old name in there,
not praised.
For,
no expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. It conducts the Cold War in short, with a wartime discipline no democracy would ever hope or wish to match. Nevertheless, every democracy recognizes the necessary restraints of national security. And the question remains whether those restraints need to be more strictly observed if we are to oppose this kind of attack as well as outright invasion.
Okay, that was just a 2-minute one. Now Reagan is next. Has everybody played this yesterday?
I hope we do not unduly focus on one man, one political party, or even one country. Instead, our focus should be on the enduring fundamental principles of life that ennoble mankind. Ever since Franklin Delano Roosevelt, presidents have built libraries and amidst the surroundings that have shaped their characters and molded their values. From West Branch, Iowa, to the Simi
Which
Valley
one,
of
Starfire?
California,
The one I played?
these institutions reflect the genius of the American people for self-government. Within their walls are housed millions of records for scholarly interpretation, along with thousands of objects that give both solid and symbolic substance to this nation's highest office and to the 40 men
I don't know where my
who have
moms are at
occupied it since
today.
Washington took his oath. Like the
I
office
didn't
they
know I was coming
commemorate,
on this
presidential
early.
libraries are living institutions. Certainly, it is my hope that the Reagan Library will become a dynamic intellectual forum where scholars interpret the past and policymakers debate the future.
Oh, that was a quick one. Yeah, everybody was playing those two yesterday. Yeah, I was saying at the beginning, everybody, I got to stay away from more than 35-minute videos and to stay at the average ones, or regular ones that we do every day. Then I should be okay. I think the long ones burn me out. But we have two shows today because Mel came out last night, 1 hour, a little over an hour. Yeah, Lisa, I couldn't remember what state you were from. It's been a long time. But I'm Michigan, and yeah, we never gave up. We've been here since day one, and got over 1 million views, and got a lot of new people coming in. And I got off and on different times, but I'm trying to go one show, but until after the 4th of July, because I don't know, after the 4th, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to do at least one show, 3 hours after the 4th. It's supposed to be a big marker. Yep. So I just can't burn myself out. Yep, thanks for fire. And people, like I said, the last two shows, I get over 200 now, so that's really good. Hopefully get everybody back coming on a regular basis and stuff, and I'll do 2 shows a day. Oh, Denmark. Oh, wow, Starfire, you see that? Denmark. Welcome. What time is it there? I'm glad you found me. Oh, wait a minute. We got Denmark, Australia. We had a few other ones from Spain and a few other places, but we haven't seen them yet. 1913. That mean 9 o'clock? I don't know the army time. Evening time? Yeah, it's 1 o'clock here. So, wow, all the way from Denmark. Glad you found me. No, I need the mods. I just don't know where they're at today. I guess everybody is busy today. AK must be busy with Bella. Okay, this is an explosion from yesterday. I believe. Five minutes.
Contractor strikes a gas Winsburg Township, and minutes later, an explosion tears through a neighborhood. 3 homes destroyed, more than 20 damaged, and at least 2 people injured. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Mitchell. We have team coverage from the scene this evening. CNN New Yorkers spoke with residents who say they're still shaken up by the blast. But we begin with my 3 News at 11 partner, Lena Lai, who has the latest. Lena, good evening.
Good evening, Russ. We are just off of Hiram Lane in Twinsburg Township, where you can still smell the strong, pungent odor of smoke and burning materials. Behind me, about 100 yards down this street is where the scene is. Firefighters are keeping us away from the scene as they continue to monitor the hot spots and put out any residual flames. 2 people injured, no fatalities. And perhaps the amazing part is that the people who owned the home that initially exploded weren't there at the time.
Smelled gas. They called the gas company. They told us to shelter in place. We stayed inside. And then probably 15, 20 minutes later, just boom.
It happened on Hiram Lane in the Woodlands neighborhood. A frantic afternoon that began as a gas leak and ended with a home blown apart.
We did transport one person that was injured from the explosion. There was a second person transported for other reasons. From there have been no confirmations on any fatalities.
Fire officials say workers struck a gas line. With no wind to carry it off, the gas settled into the streets and crews ordered everyone out.
The explosion ruptured the line, which then made firefighting more difficult.
That blast set 2 neighboring houses on fire. All 3 are a total loss. 12 more homes on Hiram suffered severe damage, and 8 others over the Hudson line on Fairway Boulevard were hit too.
Glass was flying all around, and the front door had blown in. All the front windows were blown in. Some of the inside doors have blown off their hinges.
Tonight, the fires are under control. The gas has been shut off. Investigators say the suspected cause now in focus, potentially a fiber optic contractor believed to have struck the line. As residents impacted gather a few belongings to find a place to stay, they're thankful for what they do have and shudder to think what could have been.
I mean, they would normally be there, like they were out of town.
They were saying, they're normally there at the table eating dinner at that time. So very lucky.
Okay. Back out here live, you see that one marker marking the gas lines as the company Kinetic was doing work in this neighborhood. As you can see right now, crews from Ohio Edison are leaving the area right now as they're wrapping up their work here. Residents are right now, because there's no power in this neighborhood, residents have had to find another place to stay. My colleague, Sia New Yorker, was here on the scene shortly after the explosion. She has been talking to residents all night long. Sia, what are they saying tonight?
Yes, good evening, Lena. All of the residents I spoke to were shaken. Some of them felt and heard that explosion, and they told me it rocked them to their core. Around 5:15 Thursday afternoon, first responders were called to Hiram Lane in the Woodlands neighborhood of Twinsburg Township for reports of a house explosion. Neighbors told me they felt and heard the boom.
And my wife was at home at the time, and she called me panicking, and she said house exploded, and I guess it knocked her off her feet.
And like their neighbors, they spent significant time trying to get answers from police and check on their loved ones despite the road closures.
It shook up the entire neighborhood, and it's just a sad thing to happen. But I'm glad there was, as far as we know, no loss of life.
But police say there are injuries and a lot of damage. 3 News cameras rolling as people gathered some of their belongings as police monitored the area. More than 20 homes were impacted, and Twinsburg police say crews are still assessing. At least 12 houses on Hiram were severely damaged. Christopher Hamad tells me he owns one of those homes.
So there was a fire coming up through the water line because the toilet exploded. The garage doors caved in, and the front door is also caved in. So this is 2142 Hiram Lane.
So this is one of the destroyed houses, the 3.
One of the destroyed houses that got nailed. Yeah,
what are you going to do?
I'm just happy the tenants were all okay.
Many people, again, telling me tonight they're very thankful that there were, minimal and no fatalities. And police telling us they're asking for everyone's patience as they continue to assess the damage. They say that crews will be here throughout the night in case of hotspots. Russ?
Okay, see you, New Yorker and Lena Lai in Twinsburg Township tonight. Thank you so much. And of course, we'll continue to follow this breaking story on air and online.
Okay, that was from yesterday. I got a 3-minute one coming up.
Power to end temporary protective status for Haitians and Syrians. That is 350,000 Haitians and 6,000 Syrians that they can start deporting. The Supreme Court has a good track record of siding with Trump's rulings. Simultaneously, they ruled that the government can't effectively turn away asylum seekers at the border, stating that if they haven't set foot on U.S. soil, then of course, the legal protections for asylum seekers have not kicked in. This is good because we see citizen journalists interviewing people like this man in Mexico.
Cuando él salga, así todos vamos para arriba, ¿por qué no? Pero, está bien que lo quiten, está bien. Pero ¿por qué Trump viene a chingar a nuestra raza? Pues el rumbo, el destino es llegar a Estados Unidos por séptima vez.
Who explained that they're just waiting for Trump to be out of office so they can come to the United States of America. Now, I don't think that man knows that Texas can just arrest you on state charges if you cross into their state, but federal agents can now stop you before you even come into the country, and they can deny you at the border. And there's better border facilitation to prevent that. On June 23rd, 2026, we saw the courts give 8 members of Antifa a 450-year prison sentence across all of their members, like 30 years up to 100 years in prison. The leader of the group, Benjamin Hanil Song, was sentenced to 100 years. They are slapping these people so as to prevent greater civil unrest because they saw the amount of people they had to arrest back in January because of the amount of threats that people were making publicly. I'm not sure if you remember, but there were hundreds of videos of people explicitly calling for armed revolution and violence against federal agents. We also saw dozens of vehicle ramming incidents, fake bombs, bomb threats, gunfights, and a sniper incident targeting ICE and the Department of Homeland Security. And keeping on the theme of courts, I forgot to tell you, June 8th, 2026, federal judge Leo T. Sorokin in Massachusetts ruled that Trump's $100,000 fine on H-1Bs, which was causing the decline in new H-1B filings, was unlawful. Now, the Trump administration has filed a notice of appeal challenging this decision. I hope that it's heard out. I hope it's ruled on fairly because H-1B labor, as well as student visas, are some of the primary vehicles by which mass immigration is happening in America. Millions of people come in here and they stay indefinitely. And this so-called skilled labor is room for massive fraud with people using fake degrees to get in, and then people extending these things basically forever. And this competes in the same job market as American college graduates. This skilled labor is probably worse for the average person viewing this than most other types of immigration.
The new guy, Intel there on Telegram or TikTok. Okay, I got Robert is about 6 minutes. Yeah.
Be the last instructional session at 6 o'clock Eastern time. We are going to move it to 7 after that. So be aware of that.
I sent you a text.
Also, there's a lot of things going on. There's probably going to be a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about the registration for American veteran jurors to operate in the National Continental Courts under the Judge Advocate Generals. We need a jury pool. They have to be qualified. Instructions are out there. Also, there's instructions for the veterans to record their DD-214s and kind of explain to them internationally and globally how things are proceeding. Under the Alamo mission, we are going to be putting out a Alamo mission theological philosophy for the mission and the organization that expands on the previously philosophical mandates that we had put out before regarding that operation. Secondly, we have I need to tell people, if you've got people building PMAs and you've got people you got to be careful. We were approached by a church out of Wisconsin that they had a PMA that went to another country, and they're in some serious trouble. And we may be able to help them, but that's going to require us dealing with the United States, the State Department, to help facilitate that. So we're working out that to deal with the State Department. You got to be careful. If you get a PMA put together and you don't have the private financial accounts, let me tell you what it means to have a private financial account. If you have a private account, you do not have a check card. You cannot get cash out. You cannot send Zelle. They do not work. You will be able to send wire transfers, and you'll be able to write checks. So if your accounts are not restricted, you don't have a private account. Okay? Doesn't matter what company it's under. It's going to be under a company. They're going to put under corporate entity. Okay, that's how they're going to apply it. So be aware. If you move your land holdings or your ministry holdings to another country and you don't have a bank account there and access to that, you're in trouble. That's called tax evasion, just so you know. People are giving some really bad advice. So another thing, we're going to talk about the IDs tomorrow. We've already got people in Florida, and we're working on other states to get their fiduciary status on their driver's license through the state. So we are working on that. That's coming, and this will be the first time I've announced it. We have figured out how to privatize vehicles. We're not going to be doing it for shortly, but we do have a model that is legitimate, that will work, so we can privatize vehicles. So the vehicles, when you're driving, will actually be privately held, and it really comes the same thing. So we wouldn't be able to do this without our private funding apparatus and all this other stuff that we have. So join up, come to the instructional session tomorrow. OurUnitedRepublic.com, and it says sign up. That's the sign up button, and come on and join us. What else? As far as properties, we have multiple properties that have been transferred. I will give you an update on the lady in Michigan. I talked to her. I've been talking to her for the last 2 days. The judge had ordered her to remove the patio off the facility, and he decided that it was ignored. He ignored the fact that the land had transferred. I contacted the attorney for the Village of Schoolcraft, notified them to cease and desist. Conversing with her, she is a steward of the facility, and they need to deal with me, as I am the lawyer on record for the organization that is the holding company. Subsequently, there was a order put in on Friday that declared a 7-day expiration for any other orders, and it was an order to remove her previous attorney. But there's been no word from the Village of Schoolcraft attorney or the judge or anything else. So they haven't talked to her. And that order was supposed to be executed and served on Friday. So we'll see what happens. We're still waiting, but that's good for now. But yeah, join us tomorrow, 6 o'clock Eastern. You can sign up at OurUnitedRepublic.com. Go ahead and sign up. It's a $10 monthly subscription, and it's a Q&A session, and they've been going really well. So God bless and God.
Okay, that's the latest with Robert. I got yesterday's Wire Channel video. Then I got a 10-minute Trish video.
26. Precedence is routine. Information cutoff is 2200. Bottom line up front. Rescue efforts continue in Venezuela as international disaster aid efforts begin. Hormuz crisis remains tense as Iranian targeting of merchant shipping continues. Beginning with international events, in the Middle East this morning, another vessel was struck by Iranian forces in the Strait of Hormuz. A total of 4 drones were reportedly launched during this attack, with the White House claiming that 3 of the 4 munitions were intercepted. Analysts comment, these targeting efforts have resulted in the International Maritime Organization pausing their rescue plan to ensure the orderly evacuation of the Persian Gulf, though as of this afternoon, the status of the strait can only be described as a state of chaos. Some vessels have turned around after being warned by the Iranians or just based on the news of other ships getting hit. Other vessels have gone full send and sprinted through the strait, hoping for the best. What has not materialized has been a measurable surge of traffic into the Gulf. Right now, most ships are trying to get out of the war zone when they can be reasonably sure that it's safe to do so, and though there have been ships moving back and forth through the strait, the traffic is still nowhere near pre-war levels. Analyst comments for this wire. In Venezuela, rescue and recovery efforts continue throughout the country following the earthquakes which devastated the capital and several other major metropolitan areas. U.S. Southcom has activated disaster response plans to allocate military resources for recovery efforts, and other Central and South American nations are also working on large-scale mobilization of disaster aid. Major earthquakes in the global south tend to be vastly more serious than anywhere else due to poor construction standards, and Venezuela is no exception. On the ground, the hardest hit areas are the coastal region of La Guaira, as well as the capital of Caracas. Nearly every single structure and high-rise building at the tourist resorts along the coast, north of Simon Bolivar Airport, have either been completely destroyed or heavily damaged. Hundreds of people remain trapped in the town of Carabalida, with many large buildings collapsing with little warning for residents. Along the coast to the west, the town of Macuto suffered a similar fate, with many people still being trapped inside collapsed buildings. At this early hour, casualty counts are hard to assess. However, the USGS estimates that there is a 74% chance that the casualty figure is at least 10,000, and that there's a 30% chance that the fatalities top 100,000 victims. Right now, it's very obvious that the 10,000 victim figure is the conservative assessment, certainly in terms of total victims, either injured or deceased. The United Nations estimated around 50,000 persons missing as of this afternoon. Officially, the total casualty figure is 971 confirmed fatalities. However, this is not only certain to rise over the next few weeks, but new casualties are also extremely likely as well. Nearly all of the high-rise apartment buildings, which are still technically standing, are exhibiting the telltale signs of major structural compromise, such as X-shaped and stair-shaped cracking in the masonry and concrete walls. These are usually major indicators of severe structural damage and that the risk of the building collapsing is extremely high. However, most people are still living inside these compromised structures, despite the very high likelihood that more high-rises will collapse imminently. This concludes the wire for 2300 Zulu, June 26, 2026.
That was yesterday's. And we got 10-minute Trisha, and then we'll do the hour Mel video.
Whoa, shoving and punching people. It's a heck of a right hook on this lady. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. It's coming. Whoa, 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 whoa. I think we got, yeah. Oh, there we go. Boom, boom, boom. And then we get a slow-mo retake of this. This is LaMonica MacGyver. She's actually back in court this week. She's got 3 judges in a 3-judge panel there in the 3rd district court. Forgive me. She's out in Delaware as they try to make some decisions on this lady. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Her defense is that this is freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. Look at that. Whoa, the right hook. There's your freedom of speech, guys. I don't think they're buying it. The judges seemed kind of perplexed by her defense. Here's the article coming up in Politico. Judges wrestle with Representative LaMonica MacGyver's claims of immunity and being targeted by the Trump administration. It's kind of like when the Haitians said, okay, we're being targeted. That was the defense. It's like, no, you're really not. Like, this has nothing to do with race, etc. In this case, she's also saying, well, it's race. It's because I'm a Black woman. It's because I'm a Democrat, but I should have immunity because I'm a member of Congress. And immunity. So you can get out there and do this? I don't think anybody gets immunity for that, okay? I think if you're going to actually start punching people, you're probably going to be in really big trouble. And if you're punching federal officers, you're looking at 17 years in the slam. Like I said, you guys can hang out there together. LaMonica, all in prison, federal prison together. He may be smart enough to try and do things a better way. This woman, woo! I mean, it's like those Carnival cruise ship memes, and they're not even memes. It's the video that actually happens that I keep seeing on Twitter, on X. One lady to the other. I mean, this woman, she's a special breed, okay? She's a really special breed, and she thinks that this is perfectly, totally okay, but I'm here to tell her it's not. And the 3 judges are about to tell her that, okay? You get 2 Democrats and 1 Republican, and they're all like, oh, like they're not into this. So she's facing now 17 years. It's a 3-count federal indictment. She had a chance, by the way. Don't forget. The whole thing could have gone away. The mayor of Newark, New Jersey, it all went away for him. Remember Bakara? Like, he apologized to Alina, and all of a sudden the whole thing went away. But this woman, she was standing her ground, and she's like, I have every right to do this. You don't have a right to give somebody the right hook that's a federal officer. So now she's facing the 3-count federal indictment, assaulting, resisting, impeding, and interfering with federal officers. So maximum, people are saying she's going to get 8 years. That's the word on the street, okay? They're thinking 8 years, but maximum up to 17 years if convicted. She's pleading not guilty because she's saying this is politically motivated. Trump is just out to get me. That's not going to work, okay, honey bunny? Speech or debate clause. So speech and debate clause. How is that your power of speech? I'm sorry. I saw what you saw, guys. And you know what? There's brand new video out. The body cam footage. I don't know if I've showed you this before, but I want to show you now. So here's the body cam footage of his LaMonica MacGyver. Whoa. Getting into it, you see, with the ICE officer. Wow. Okay, it picks back up with her, and she's throwing her hands around and her mouth around. Wow. I mean, like, LaMonica, forget about it. They're federal officers. Just because you happen to be a member of Congress because some people were stupid enough to elect you. You shouldn't have worn red that day, right? You didn't need to do that. So, yeah, you got yourself arrested. And rightly so. And then to say that you have a freedom of speech and that you have immunity because you are a member of Congress. No, that's not how it works. It just doesn't work that way. Again, 17 years is what she is facing. I want to go to her. She's now actually, remember, like it was the next day, or maybe it was actually that day. We can tell whether or not she had the red jacket on, right? This is some sound from May 2025 where she was out there saying, this is my freedom of speech. And it's like God has a funny way of intervening. You hear the train from probably the Amtrak train going right by her there in Newark, New Jersey, honking every time she tries to get a word out. It's classic.
How this administration is trying to restrict Congress from doing their bare duties and the responsibilities that the people have elected us to do. What we just witnessed was just disgusting. I am very upset. I am very angry, and I am very hurt that they could be able to do something like that to us. These are people who are supposed to be officers who are supposed to protect us, and they have done none of that. If they can treat 3 members of Congress like that, just imagine how they can treat people on the street each and every day, both undocumented and people who are citizens here in this country. It makes absolutely no sense to arrest the mayor of the largest city of this state who did nothing wrong. He went inside of the gate and told them that he was waiting for us to come out because we were.
It's like, oh. LaMonica, take the hint. That's like a hint from God. That's a hint from heaven. You're in trouble. They're trying to shut you up while they still can, okay? So again, LaMonica thinks that somehow she is entitled to do this, that this is all her freedom of speech, and that is her story, and she's sticking to it. So the judges don't really know what to do. They're like, we don't get it. We don't think you were really targeted. And in fact, if you look at the write-through of the reporters that were in there in the appeals court that day, they're saying, look, they're struggling here because this is what you would call an extraordinary prosecution, fair, but at the same time, you can't do what she did. That's not freedom of speech. There were 90 minutes of argument, 3 times longer than expected. The judges heard from her. And basically, one was a Trump appointee, the 2 were Democrat appointees, and they all were very skeptical over whether Ms. MacGyver is really shielded by from these charges, because again, there's no freedom of speech here. I want to go, this is an article that was in Politico. Judge Stefanos Bibas was nominated by President Donald Trump in 2017. He actually asked if a lawmaker would be protected if that lawmaker decided to grope a girl. Don't forget, she's like smashing her fist right into that. So it's a kind of violence, same as if you grope somebody would be a kind of violence inside an immigration detention facility. And he repeatedly suggested, they write, that adopting the same kind of approach at as the trial court judge, that the minute or so of chaos outside the gates of Delaney Hall could be separated from MacGyver's official duties. I think what they're trying to get at is whether you're punching, whether you're groping, whether anything, like, we can't excuse behavior like that. There is no excuse for the behavior. And so she is accused in this case of slamming a federal agent with her forearm, forcibly grabbing him and using her forearms to strike another agent. Remember the right hook. I would actually say it was a fist. So the allegations are of physical violence, and they actually don't think they've ever had a situation quite like this, because there have been no allegations of physical violence that have come from members of Congress before. Okay. And the trespassing allegations and charges against Baccara, the mayor of New Jersey, they were dropped, right? They worked it all out. But this lady thinks that, I keep joking about poor Carnival Cruises. You've seen the videos, right? She thinks she's back on Carnival, I guess. So here's the problem. You can't do it. And her lawyer's trying to say, she wouldn't even get a foul in a Knicks Spurs game. I guess, if she was going after Caitlin Clark, she wouldn't get a foul because apparently none of them do. Oh, you saw that, right? The player that went after her, that punched poor Caitlin Clark in the throat, got a lousy, stinking $1,000 fine. I mean, she should be thrown right out of that league, right? But the WNBA is scared of its own shadow. I don't think anything would happen to anybody, right? in these WNBA events. So that's perhaps a bad comparison. La Monica, however, you're going down, and you're probably going to get those 17 years. And I'm just going to say, you know what? You deserve it. Now, this is a great example. Okay, she's out there saying she gets immunity because she's a member of Congress. You don't get immunity. You don't have that. You violated the law. And as for Mamdani, while I don't necessarily think he has quite the right hook of Monica MacGyver, if he continues to violate the law, meaning if he does not allow ICE officers to do their jobs, then that makes him no different, say, than George Wallace. And then the question becomes, how much more forward do they take it? Do they want to take it? It seems like we got a lot of leftist extremists out there, leftist extremists that actually want to overthrow the government. I mean, that's what they tell us anyway.
Okay, our first Trish video. Time for the big video. A little bit over an hour.
Love Trumpy, I'm having a problem. It will not record. I think I'm going to close this chat out and
The red light
reopen
is
it.
the
So-
red light. The red light is on.
The red light is on. Oh, it is on. Okay, I don't see it. Okay, perfect. Then it is recording. Never mind. Awesome. Thank you.
Here we go, guys. One of our favorites.
Is it normal for it to fade in and out?
No, now it's showing. Okay, now it's showing for me. Mel must have gotten it.
And Billy,
No, we were having a problem with it not. I
17
couldn't get
minutes.
the recording started, but I think you did.
Yeah, there's must be something in the permissions because I just had to restart myself. So I do apologize for the short delay. I had to reboot because I couldn't even get on to my own live. So thank you girls for preparing and looking after us and it's still got delays here by the loks. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is, of course, Freedom Friday, or Freedom Friday. Well, it should be, shouldn't it? Let's go with Finance Friday. Okay, we're looking at a few things financial today, but there is a couple of things that still tie in, and this is, of course, the news out of Vietnam. The Vietnam is ready as it's unveiled a 100-year master plan through digital expedition on June the 29th. This is really, really exciting, and understand the formalities of where we're going. We are going into a digital world, and Vietnam is going to be one of those countries, as well as probably Nigeria is going to be another one, where we unexpectedly see this new digital accentuating and that of the digital asset world. While SpaceX is also scheduling 4 Falcon 9 launches between June the 28th to July the 3rd. Why is this important to Finance Friday? Well, all these Starlink deployments are coming up, and Starlink, of course, is linked to the Daisy chain, which is connected to Atom, which we will get into very shortly. The EU approves trade deals with the US to implement a 15% tariff cap. Now, this is where this one gets very interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because now we're talking about them capping the tariffs. This is also very important moving forward because this is part of, we've always said that the tax does not actually go away. They become tariffs. There was an agreement between the EU and US where they're going to drop what their original tariff rates were going to be, and they're now going to be capped at 15%. Boy, oh boy, does that not tell me that that is Jassara coming into play? Just putting that out there. So that was really exciting. While Brazil plans its largest and first ever sovereign panda bond. For those who have been around for quite some time, we were always told to follow the memes. And one of those memes, of course, is panda. Not financial advice, but just connecting a few dots here. The sovereign panda bond is connected, of course, to the Chinese yuan, which I did mention last time, that the yuan will be your one world currency that everything is linked to and no longer be the USD. So keep an eye out on those. Other countries that are tapping into the Chinese domestic bond market will include countries, as I said at the beginning of the show. We're starting to see other nations come on board. These countries are Pakistan, Kazakhstan, Slovenia, and my favorite, Hungary. This is to stabilize, of course, the Brazilian real. So this is to stabilize their currency, the real in Brazil. So understand why this digital mindset is becoming more and more important for you to understand the movements of your currencies. This will provide Brazil a natural currency hedge for projects and trade with China. And this is why Mel's been talking so much for so long regarding the trade deals between each of these countries. On June the 28th, this is one that we're going to watch on Sunday. The DTCC, the World Banking System, uses XLM. It goes live on Sunday. Read the articles. There's also many articles that it's connecting them this new XLM, to every child born will be given $1,000 in the US. We saw this over in New Zealand, where every child will be given a KiwiSaver account as well. So watch what is going on. Understand what is going on in these financial markets. It's not just about the RV. It is also about reinvesting and, as we say, hedging. In June the 28th, the Pi network, which is a digital asset network, which is what I call the full circle, it's going to be releasing its slice test token. If you want a slice of the pie to maintain your wealth, ladies and gentlemen, this might be one to watch. Not financial advice, but that is called Pi 2 Day. Pi 2 Day is on June the 28th as well. What else is happening on the 28th is very, very interesting. The BIS, the International Banking International Settlement, comes out and they're talking about their annual economic report being released on the 28th. Well, this is a new fiscal stability that will cover and connect with Nexus, which is a very important project. We will get into Nexus probably next week or midweek. It will release its inflation risks and its AI booms, etc., etc., etc. Why is this important when the digital assets come into play? Well, also on the 28th, it is known that the ISO 222 upgrade with all banks is going to occur also on June the 28th. Is that not just a big marker? That all your banks will be linked to ISO 222. Also, as I said, leading from all of that, though, it's after those two big upgrades on the 28th, 29th, okay? The big one that I'm going to be watching is the DTCC takes traditional assets to tokenization event. This event is occurring on July the 13th. Will be fully implemented and live in October. On June the 29th is a strawberry full moon. It is the harvest season. The harvest season. Are we about to harvest our wealth? I damn well think we are. China Commerce Minister and EU Trade Chief are to also hold meetings and talks on the 29th in Brussels. What was interesting about this little comment from the EU, they are saying are working with an instrument. Now, what instrument would they be working on? I don't know, the quantum system, perhaps? Who aim would be to provide solidarity. Now, that word's come up quite a few times here. We will get a chance one day very soon to talk to the Polish guy who introduced solidarity to the world. And the solidarity movement, and counter trades are imbalances and fair practices. Now that's a bit strange coming out of the EU Commission. While an EU diplomat, of course he's a diplomat, comes out and says, oh, we're going to solve everything by talking to them. Well, I can assure you, sir, Mr. Diplomat, whoever you are, that it is already done. Do not get emotionally attached to all of that. So before we get into the Q&A, there is, of course, big news coming out in the Binance sector as well as the XRP ledger, which we will dive into in a little bit. Binance will stop serving EU clients from July the 1st. Understand in the Finance Friday, this is where we get to talk about all of the upgrades, of course, also in our taxation, and how it affects our businesses. This is all finance. This is all about digital assets because everything goes digital. We'll go into a little bit more depth as time goes by, where we start to talk about, of course, the portals in our financial systems that we can tap into. But Binance, they told customers in Poland, Italy, Spain, and France to withdraw their funds. There's other multiple MiCA licensing crypto asset service providers such as Revolut and OKX that are looking for other users within the UK. There must be a reason why they are not going into the MiCA licensing. So keep an eye out on that. If you are in Binance across the globe, please make sure that you refer to those articles. Let's get into some really cool nitty-gritty stuff. We just saw XRP Ledger coming out as well. As I said, we'll touch on that. But let's go to America's Quantum Space Initiative. It is linked, of course, to Inflection, but with a Q, INFLEQTION. This, I believe, from first glances and researching overnight, it is the Cube. It's also on the New York Stock Exchange. It is linked to NVIDIA, a new quantum microchip that has been doing exceptionally well on the stock market. This, of course, is your quantum grid contingency analysis. The current electrical grids must be resilient, so Inflection identifies these vulnerabilities as we integrate into an intermittent energy source while maintaining a stable, reliable power supply. So all of these things, when we talk about quantum and atoms and this, that, and all the rest of it, this is your smooth transition. It is not going to be a boom like that. It is going to be a shakalaka. It will happen progressively over a period of time. Quantemium, let's go to there. This has now gone public. It went public this week. This comes under Honeywell. But Honeywell only retained 48.1%. Again, they're losing their power. Don't get caught up in, of course, all the emotion and corruption that they had before. They now only retain less than half. So this is a great thing. But Quantemium has just gone public. We actually talked about Quantemium. Well, I did about 18 months ago. So it's very, very interesting that that has also popped up under this new American initiative, so to speak. One of my favorites that I have spoken about before, of course, is that of Xanadu. This was a company in Toronto, Canada. I have touched on it before, where they're now mining the required rare earth chips, rare earth minerals for their chips, for their iCloud here in Australia. Before we get into Q&A, let's have a look at the gold price and then the silver price, and then we can go to Q&A. At the current price, of course, gold is trading at $4,071.95. It is up. Ooh, it's in the green. That's exciting. And of course, the silver. Let's go to silver. What is it doing? Of course, it's trading around about 58.19 cents US at the moment. So, yeah, interesting times, isn't it? There has to be some type of parallel. There was a great video that the girls released in the channel today from Andy Schreckman, one of my favorite silver goddess. He is really, really pushing regarding that silver Liberty coin and why is it going to be priced at this much. It is no scam. We looked at many things across the board where we thought a lot of things were scams when they came out because they were seen to be overpriced and this, that, and all the rest of it. This is a legit silver coin. If you are thinking about investing later on when our wealth occurs, then that is certainly one to consider. But definitely go and have a listen to Andy Schreckman over there on the main channel. So God's Alf, it is over to you. Who have we got up first?
Well, thank you, ma'am. We have KLL loves my dog. Let's see. I think there's a really spoiled dog that lives in there.
Oh,
KL loves my dog.
For sure. For sure.
Hello. How are we?
I know. I'm doing okay. I want to apologize before I even speak because there's a lot that I do not understand.
That's okay.
A. B, I invested in silver and a little bit of gold, and I overstretched my boundaries, to be honest, to try and XRP and in foreign currency and to set myself up, because I live alone. I live on Social Security, and so I wanted stability. So but it scares me when I see what XRP is at. It scares me when I see what silver looks like, and life happens, and since I live on Social Security, and this doesn't, my situation isn't like everybody else's. Probably the majority of the people on here have jobs, and but I'm on a fixed income. So life happens. What I mean by that is, beyond just regular financial situations and bills, you know, the water company charges me $5,000. My dog had surgery, which was $6,000. Somebody just 3 days ago threw a rock through my window in the front, and that's $4,000. I mean, life goes on. So the bottom line, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I have to sell because things aren't happening as I expected them to happen. I expected silver to be, more than, $58. I expected XRP to be a lot more than where it is now. So I have to sell stuff in order to make ends meet. So I'm in a situation where it's scary as all get out, that when I have to sell some of the stuff, that it's going to stay where it is or get worse. I'm just, I'm frightened, to be honest. And I'll leave it at that now. Thank you.
Well, that's okay, darling. And first of all, you're not alone. Okay? You're not alone on this, sweetheart. So what happens there is basically what we're sort of going to go through right now is this is why everything is coming over here. It's not to be scared of. If you were to look at the charts from a bigger perspective and look overall your silver and your gold in comparative, we'll get to XRP and XLM in a minute. But if you were to look at the charts over a long period of time, although they do have these fluctuations, they always end up on top. But it doesn't help the fact that, yes, some of us had overinvested, and I'm guilty of that. I have said many times I had to sell my currencies. But pick the best ones that you're going to get instant cash with. If you know that your gold and silver, this is not just for KL, but it is for everybody. You hold the highest one that's going to be the biggest or strongest hedge, not financial advice by any shape or means. You do whatever you feel is instinctively right for you. But I'd be holding on to my gold and silver. That's number one. The first thing that you could possibly do is perhaps sell the currencies, because that's the easiest one to sell and to get instant cash. When things like this happen, also think outside the square. Think right outside the square. What's the most important thing? Well, the window in the house would definitely be the first thing that I fix. Okay? You can ask a neighbour, a friend, to put a board up to support that. If you can't it's $4,000 for the window, I get that. But we have to start thinking outside. Okay? So find a neighbour, find a friend, put your hand up. Be humble and ask, because I had to. Okay, so that's the first thing. As for the car and everything else, as I said, put everything aside for one moment and think about what's the most important thing. Your safety first. So get the house window fixed, my darling. Start thinking, I think I did post something just before, sometimes these things happen, and they happened in threes. That's the last thing that's going to happen to you. But do not fall into the trap of trying to sell your gold and silver. Hold on to it for as long as you possibly can, because that is going to be your strongest hedge. Again, not financial advice. But consider those couple of things, KL. We can certainly talk privately about your private business, but otherwise, yeah, it is all going to be okay, I can assure you. Is it fearful? Yes, it is. And I'm on a fixed income too, darling, so understand that. You are not the only one at that point in time. It is a tough gig. I don't know how many times I've brought currencies, had to resell it, but know that there is wealth on the other side of all of this, and it is coming, and it's coming in fast. So, but okay, she's put up her hand again. Just one more question, honey. Go for it. And then we'll have to go over to the next one.
I hear great things are happening, and there's good news. Are we going to have to wait a long time yet to see the fruit of it?
I don't think so. I think with what I've just already talked about today, with these markets coming up on the 10th of July, the 28th of June, definitely watch that. Going into the 1st of July, we've got many countries, including Iraq, who have indicated that there is movement at the station. Everything has to be implemented, I think, towards the middle to the end of July before we can start to re-navigate. So you've only got to get through for another 30 days, so to speak, before we actually start to see something. There is, again, whispers and talks about relief coming. There is many talks about it. Actually, I've heard it across the ballpark, where they are going to start releasing some extra funds. It's not going to be a great deal, but it will certainly help in your situation as well. But again, we learn from these experiences. The experience that KL has had is one that we've all got to reflect on, I think,
36
and
minutes,
make sure
guys.
that we all our expectations were
36
different.
left.
There was a fantastic article that was posted today, was brought to my attention by Love Trumpy, that it's going to be an overwhelming experience, and we are not ready for this well, nor were we ready to go out and invest in these things in which you overinvested, as we said. We have a lot to reflect on, and this is why we take it to Finance Fridays, so that we can actually start to accumulate and maintain this wealth. And that's what we're here to do on this channel. Hence, the overinvestment that we may have had with currencies or whatever is irrelevant. It's what we can do right now. As I said, not financial advice, but I give you these fundamentals so that we can actually start to focus on different things. I guess that one of the other things that KL's probably concerned about too, and a lot of people often ask, is regarding, of course, the stock market. Is it going to go away? It doesn't technically go away. The old system will go away. So if we have a market crash and it goes to zero, that, of course, is that old system depleting, so to speak. The new system that we can actually see and is through, of course, this American Quantum Initiative. Of course, it happened to come out on June the 22nd when we're watching everything else. But again, like I said, the New York Stock Exchange and all the other stock exchanges don't go away. They are refurbished, and it is more user-friendly, let's say, for us, we the people. So we look forward to discussing that as well. God's Alf, who's up next?
Thank you, Sparkling Rose. Hit your blue button, please.
Yes, Sparkling Rose.
Hi, Mel. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for everything you do. Really appreciate it. This is just a quick FYI. The ABC Bullion in Sydney, they're closing their website down on the 28th and rehashing all of the website with a brand new website, and it's going to be well, you'd have to see it yourself.
Absolutely.
It's going to be very different and very easy to transact. They're taking a lot of the controls off.
ABC Bullion.
Yeah. .com.au.
Yes. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. All of these little snippets of their information come in very, very handy. I'm wondering what they're going to be doing, upgrading it to the new quantum system. This is part, as I said earlier in the show, the fundamentals that I mentioned about. Thank you so much, Sparkling Rose. Did you have any other questions, or you were just doing an FYI?
I just wanted to share that because I thought that
Wow,
was
that is very important to share. I appreciate you muchly. Wow. If you have any kind of little news like that, ladies and gentlemen, please be brave and share it because it all helps us together as a community. So as I said, with all the fundamentals that we did touch on just a short moment ago, as I said, it really looks like everything is starting to connect into this quantum system. June the 28th, oh, I tell you, give yourself 72 hours. As I always say, make sure that we allow 72 hours for us to see this implementation as we go through to the quantum system. So looking forward to that little surprise, opening that up in ABC Bullion. Oh, that is very, very exciting. So it's all coming together. And this is all the little bits and pieces of news that come through, ladies and gentlemen, that helps you also in your country as well. So have a check where you are in the world, actually. Let's do a little exercise and see how many we can get to come up. Go in and have a look at their websites and see if they're doing any upgrades around the 28th of June. So that'll keep you busy for a couple of minutes. So is there anyone else who has a question, Godzell? Harry knows. That sounds like
yes,
fun.
We have Harry knows.
Oh, gosh. Harry knows. Come on down. There has to be a story behind that one. So
Harry knows. Hit your blue button. Even if you accidentally hit it and don't have a question, so we know, so we can move on. Hit your blue button to talk, please.
It's always difficult when they come up.
Okay, we're going to move. Yeah, I know. We're going to move on. Baby Bunny. Baby Bunny, did you have a question? Hit your blue button. Okay, just hit your blue button to open your microphone because we cannot hear you until you hit that blue button.
All these little virgins. They're so cute.
Sorry.
But that's okay. Well, while we're waiting for people to navigate their way around unmuting themselves, we can chat about quantum if there's no one else, Godzell. We can talk about.
This time,
Here we go. Someone's talking. There could be a glitch in the matrix.
L17, did you have a question?
She knows how to unmute
your
herself.
mic.
Is that, are you talking to me, L17?
Yes, we're talking to you.
Awesome. I got back to have an internet shop. I just wanted to know if you said that the exit large. So it is digital, but maybe we'll start off on the one. But anyway, I brought it up.
Not on anything. That money's else and then I said.
All I hear is we're banding. I don't know if you heard it or not. Welcome.
Been
Ribbit rubber
I couldn't even hear that. Crazy.
Everybody is rubber banding.
Hi, I'm back. Was I rubber banding?
Yeah. Yes, you were.
Oh, I was just bringing up the Texas Stock Exchange going to go live in July, so we should get excited about that.
Oh, in Texas, yes, we can. Absolutely. That's very important as well. As I said, it kind of lines up, and thanks for that. It kind of lines up with, like I said, mid to late July before we start seeing some major changes. So I'm pretty excited about that as well. Texas sounds like a good place to move to, I think. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one as well. So, but what else can we talk about? What else would you like to talk about? Silly goose. I just saw a silly goose. Hairy nose. You people are crazy.
You people are crazy. Silly goose, go ahead and hit your blue microphone. Ask your question.
I didn't have a question. I was trying to find my blue button. I was trying to figure it out in case I ever did have a question. But Mel, thank you so much for what you do.
That's okay, darling.
Just learning so much. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So what would you like to learn more about, though? While you're here, while you've worked it all out, what would you like to learn more about?
Oh, I heard you say like a week or so ago that it's time to move on. That currency, yeah, it's a win. It's when it's going to happen, but we need to be ready for when it does happen. And that really struck home to me. So learning more about crypto, I'm also just like the other lady and just like you, I'm on a fixed income. I've overinvested myself, but I totally believe in what's going to happen. So I know it might be hard, but we're going to make it. We're going to be okay. So
we are going to be okay.
Yes, we are. And so, yeah, just the next steps, what to do with it all when we get it. So that's why I'm listening and that's why I'm learning.
Excellent. No, it's good to know. It is really, really good to know because, as I said, this is all new to a lot of people, and yet we have different dynamics where we have people who are just wanting the grist of it. And if you are in that position where you are already big into crypto, please go and check out the American Quantum Initiative and how it's all linked up through NVIDIA and things like that as well, because it was all of these things that we learnt earlier on that are all starting to come into play. Have a look at the companies and research these companies and how they all come together as well. So as I said, I can't give you financial advice, but we can certainly give you a perspective of what to start looking for. And if there's anything, Silly Goose, that like I said, you find,
we got 25
feel free
minutes,
to come up
25.
in the Q&A and ask. Mel, I found this article. Could you please explain it? And that gives you more understanding. It was lovely. I had a lovely chat, Silly Goose, with a lovely lady who was in the same boat. And she made a connection with the quantum, the ATQM and the ATOM quantum network. And of course, this new American initiative is actually working with the quantum network. It all is also got to do with, of course, your opening of your third eye. So everything starts to come into play and makes more sense as we move forward into this new digital age. It's not just about the finance, it's also about the frequencies. So happy days. So did you have a question? Did you think of a question, Silly Goose, before we go on to the next one?
No.
Silly Goose, I made it. So hit your blue button again if you have a question.
Did you have a question, love, before we go? No? Who's up next, God?
Chico. Lorraine QS. Lorraine QS. Come on down.
Hi, Mel.
Hello, how are you, Lorraine?
I'm fine, thank you. And thank you for answering me yesterday. It was much appreciated. We're right in the middle of a storm in the UK and it cut out. did I hear that the Texas Stock Exchange is going to be the 17th of July?
The 17th, you don't say. Yes,
That
it is.
because isn't that the Clarity Act?
Something like that. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
How it all comes together.
What coincidence if I heard it right.
It is all coming together. It is a lot to be excited about, Lorraine. I'm glad we caught up, and I'm glad you shared what you did with me yesterday as well. It comes in really handy. So we'll get there. We will get there. But God bless you, Lorraine.
Thank you. And just to let the lady at the beginning know that I'm on a fixed income. Yes, it is hard, but we are going to get there. Let's have some faith.
We are. It is. It pains me.
Yeah. I have to just put a percentage of my, my Social Security in. So, yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll keep plugging away. We've got until October, hopefully.
Absolutely. And we do have, as I said, some relief is coming, I believe, after the 1st of July. So definitely hang in there. So
thank you, and God bless you.
My pleasure, darling. We'll talk to you again soon. And God's Alf, who's up next?
You, Lorraine. Scott, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Hey, Mel, how you doing?
I'm awesome,
you hear me?
sir. How are you?
Good. We spoke once before, probably back in September, I think. I'm in Toronto, Canada.
There you go.
Yeah, I did have a question. What are your thoughts on the lobster? I purchased some assets on the lobster 4 years ago, and I vetted them to the best of my ability. They all seemed good at the time, but now every single one is labeled a warning or a scam, and I just wonder what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, look, there's been multiple things that come up about lobster, okay? I don't have a personal opinion on it. Hello, Stephanie. How are you, darling? She goes, I don't know how I did that. That's all good. Okay, so with lobster, just that it's a distraction for me. I get easily distracted. But Scott, what happens there is that, look, when we started, this particular digital channel was originally Crypto Family, and I started this way back in COVID times in a basement in a hostel. And lobster was basically the one that was promoted, and we used it as an exercise to go through and learn and study regarding budgeting, all sorts of things, and to put ourselves into the market, so to speak, that being the crypto market. Lobster was always going to be that one, I think, was the beta testing, and it has to be good, Scott. Unfortunately, some people may agree or disagree. That's okay. When you look at the major network, which is that of Stellar Network, which everything runs through, Lobster is still doing upgrades. It is still connected to the Stellar Network. Is it the beta test to find these scams? In fact, there was about 3 articles that I read this morning regarding IPOs and ICOs and this, that, and all the rest of it. And we have to continue to believe that Lobster is going to be okay. All right? Yes, we probably put $50 and there's probably $11 left in it. But it doesn't indicate the full impact of what the price of the silver and the XLM is going to provide you. If it still says that you're holding X amount of XLM equivalent to your tokens, it's the tokens itself that possibly can. I've spoken to a lot of people about this, and my understanding, Scott, is that will eventually, these warning signs in lobster will disappear, even though they've said it 1,000 times before. But what happens here is that it will be bridged through aqua. Now, someone did make a comment. I did see something in one of the channels regarding they lost all their aqua and this, that, and all the rest of it. Understand, the Stellar Explore blockchain, and even when you do any transaction on blockchain, it is traceable. It is traceable. So it's not that we're going to lose everything. It will pop back up. I know that during COVID, Lobster would have these beta testing. The kids who had $50 in their lobsters went to $4,000 and $400,000. This was your beta test. This was to test you. And if we were to convert this to the Q post where it says test, 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 it has been a testing process. It has been testing. It's testing our patients right now. And I get that. So with lobster, like I said, it can't be all bad. It has to be good. It is linked to Stella and Scapulli and all of those. It's not going away. So it has to be good. I think it's just one of those that we sit there and grin and bear it. I've had good reports from lobster where people have actually said that their actual wallet is making money. So they must have done a whole heap of extra work. I don't know. But again, it's one of those things. You just have to hold it and see. Don't overinvest. Don't invest any more than what you can't afford to eat, and things like that as well. And we'll see what happens there. It's a catch-22. I don't look at my lobster anymore because it distresses me to no end. But anyway, like I said, it is a beta test, and I believe that it's going to be just fine. So, but anyway, God's Elf, who's next? Is it Kevin, I think?
Kevin is next. Kevin, hit your blue button and ask Mel your question, please.
Hey,
Kevin,
Mel.
how are you? How are you, champion?
Absolutely wonderful.
Good.
So I had a question based on your schedule that was posted last week.
Oh,
showing
yes.
the let me see, private no charge bookings.
Yes.
I was really
Kevin.
hoping to understand what that's all about. Sounds like
But
appointments.
you just have a private. Well, a lot of people, just like the First Lady, KL loves my dog Lexi, need just a friend to talk to. And I'm available on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Kevin. So if whatever you want to talk about and you want to talk about it privately, you can have a private session with me. So you just need to book a session. You just need to PM me and set up a time.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
An hour and a half. Sorry?
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you can
Yes.
PM me. So
I
all's
will.
good. No
Amen.
worries
Thank
at
you.
all, champion. Too easy. Excelente. Who's up next?
Kiki S. Kiki S. Go ahead and hit your blue button. Ask Mel your question.
Yes. Hi, Mel. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all your information. I always looking forward to your live call and get some great information. But this time I heard that XRP is, the other side of coin. And then, somebody said that XRP is not going to take over, like, what do you say, like a gold-backed currency, and, it's going to be used all over the world, and it's not going to take over the SWIFT. And it's basically like, the other side of coin, not for us. Means like a scam in a way. I just wonder if that's true or not.
Well, okay, Kiki, yes, let's have a look at this. The fact that we are already running on an XRP ledger, your banking system and the transfer of wealth from the central banks into your treasuries were all done on an XRP ledger. That is fundamentals. Right. Okay. So no one can deny that. You're already running on it. So every time you go to the grocery store and you tap your card, you are already running on a Stellar network, XLM.
Lay down.
I beg to question those people who think it's not. It's an emotional attachment that they probably got some type of bitterness to it. XRP is not going to be the golden child, probably not. But you certainly need to understand the ISO 222 compliance, which is the messaging
We're almost
system.
getting there, you guys. We're
So
almost
if
there.
they're arguing about, say, Bitcoin, for instance, or they are Bitcoin lovers, they need to understand that Bitcoin originally, well, now it's a little bit different. They are running on the Stellar network, I believe. But previously, what happens is, Nikki, yes, is that these things were not running simultaneously on the same messaging system. And that's why ISO 222 compliance came into play. It was to make sure that everyone was compliant, that there was no dodgy Bitcoin on the other side of all of that. Unless they are running on the ISO, and that's why this June 28th is very, very important, that all banks will be running on the ISO 222 compliant. That is your XRP ledger. So Nikki S, go back and ask the people, what do they mean about it? Because that doesn't make any fundamental sense to me whatsoever in that retrospect. So, but yeah, it's, you know, it may not be the golden child, but it's going to be, it will be tokenized and linked against 1 gram of gold, as with silver, with the XLM. That is my understanding. That's based on my research. We'll see what happens. So, but anyway, God's Elf, who else have we got?
Okay, I first want to make an announcement. If you raise your hand and I take the red mute off, you need to wait for your name to be called before you open your microphone. If you open your microphone, I will red mute you again. If you do it a second time, I will leave you red muted for the rest of the chat. Okay? All right, we have Stephanie. Stephanie, did you have a question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Absolutely, Stephanie. How are you, my darling?
I'm wonderful. Last night I was trying to find XLML, the ledger, to buy some of that, and all I could find was XLP. All I could find was XLP Ripple. So I didn't buy any because I'm still confused about what all are options. I have XLP, but I don't have anything with Ripple or L at the end of it. And I saw the symbol for XLPL, but I couldn't find it to buy it. Can you kind of give me a little lesson on what's going on with all of that?
Yeah, and what wallet were you buying from, hun?
In an Uphold and Coinbase.
That's interesting.
It's interesting that we can buy stocks on Coinbase now.
Yeah, I know. That's why I keep bringing that up, Stephanie, because it's not going away. All of these derivatives are
Pretty
running.
exciting.
It is exciting. So your XLPL, it's a meme shop. That's interesting.
Oh, that's what it's under? I thought that was memes like the funny faces.
Yeah, exactly. Again, it's very interesting that you bring that one up. I'm just quickly Googling it while you're here.
While you're Googling, I want to thank you for everything you do. And I'm also one of those that's living month to month.
Yes, I know. We all are. Now, I typed in, you said it was XLPL, yeah?
Correct. Isn't that XLP ledger?
Yeah. But and of course,
did you find it?
No. But that is Ripple. I mean,
so it is XLP Ripple. I did find that.
Yeah, XRP Ripple.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, like I said, Ripple just landed JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank and SBI, the largest XRP trades like none of it has ever happened before, and that was 1 day ago. Again, like I said, we're going to go through these one by one. Like I said, we might do another session just on how to purchase and what to purchase, which coins to look at, how to navigate. Actually, Stephanie, you've just triggered it to me, actually. I must sit down and go through and find the best YouTube video that explains to people how to identify these fake tokens and all of that kind of thing as well. So I was looking up some cyber attack type case scenarios about fake cryptos and what to have a look at. So Stephanie, we might just certainly go through that again and make sure that we understand what we're actually purchasing before we actually purchase it. So yeah, we might do that one at a very later date. So I just saw Hairy Nose come back up. So Stephanie, stay tuned, darling. Stick with us. As I said, the more questions that come up, it gives me more direction on what to focus on. As I said, doing up a YouTube video list as we speak, and I'll get to those and post those videos as soon as possible. So who's up next, God's Elf?
Let's try Hairy Nose again. I'm going to bump that person to the top.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hit your blue button to ask your question. Hit your blue button, and that'll open up your microphone. Ask your question. Okay. L17 had another question. L17.
Oh, there we go. Hairy Nose worked it out. There we go.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Seriously, I had to
10
go
minutes,
into my
guys.
hello, Mel.
10 more minutes.
I had to go into
Oh,
my
wait.
upgrading
8
quantum
more
brain,
minutes.
and all the settings have changed on my iPad. So where a
minutes.
go?
We were playing with the new iPad yesterday, not for me, but for someone else, and we had the same thing. It's like some iPads don't even use facial ID; they only use fingerprint, which is quite interesting.
Wow.
To know that. So anyway, you're here now, so it's all good. I understand, and I'm very, very patient with these because I know how difficult it is, and you get very nervous when you come up the first time, especially, and you're just looking and you just can't see it. And but that's okay. You're
Well,
here now.
I appreciate your patience. I really do.
That's okay,
I
darling.
just wanted to report on something that I observed last week. I've been going to a rehab place, and each time I come to pay for my session, the little machine does not accept my health insurance card. And so yesterday we tried again, and it actually did. And the manager said to me, this group has many centres all around Australia. And the manager said to me, this is the first practice I've set up in Australia. He's obviously done most of the others, that I've had to individually call every health insurance to get them online with their payment system. And that really pricked my ears up. Obviously, a change in the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good point to bring up. And again, it's like everything, isn't it? It's this transition into this new system, and some things have had to be manually implemented as well. So that's a very big update. I'm liking it very much, Lee. Who else is up next, God's Elf?
Well, we're almost out of time, so I'm going to go with Aussie G. Aussie G, did you have a question? Hit your blue button.
Hi, yes, I do. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I've come on late, so I'm not going to ask what I was going to ask because I think a couple of people just sort of mentioned it. So it was to do with the XRP. So I won't go there.
That's okay.
So I'll just I'll listen to the whole thing because I don't want to have to ask the same question again. So, what is your impression on the atom?
The atom
from Phil G.
Phil G. Well, it's a very interesting one, isn't it? Can I give you a different perspective? Would you like me to do a quick 5-minute overview of my perspective?
Yes, please. Yes,
okay,
please.
let's go. I'm going to look like I'm a bit cross-eyed, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to actually have to go into another screen, and I'm going to go through some notes that came together, and we'll put this one, finish this one off. Now, where do I go? Okay. I'm going to go into that. There we go. All right. And Matt is already online. How cool is that? All right. So let's have a look at the Phil G one. It's an interesting one. It's actually got a Q in it. And of course, I went back and did some deep dives into what is this? Is it connected to the atom network? Well, Phil G, regardless of, again, your likes or dislikes, is connected to the global integrator. It is the awakening. It is connected to your third eye, your pineal gland, the awakened state that is not bridged to get there yet. It is the end goal. So this quantum ATQM that Phil G is talking about is the end goal. It's the kicking of the goal. It's bringing everything together. It also connected me to, of course, the International Atomic Energy Agency, which used to be, of course, your United Nations, where we unite and come together. So there's a lot more to that one that meets the eye. But the ATQM, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, is connected to your third eye. So there you go. I hope that helps, Aussie G. I hope that helps because, yeah, we did a big deep dive with a lady. I did a private session yesterday, and her and I went through some pretty amazing things. And the ATQM is connected, of course, as I said, to the American Quantum Initiative as well. So very interesting times. But, yeah, there is a lot more to that one. We will keep an eye on it. But don't get caught up in the hopium of, investing in this, that, and all the rest of it. It's to technically open up your third eye, so your pineal gland. So there you go. There's a different perspective. Guys, Alf, how are we going for time? Can we squeeze one more in? Can we say a quick hello to Mrs. C?
I was just going to ask you how we were doing on time because we're at the 1 hour mark. Okay, Mrs. C.
Yeah, Mrs. C, open your just to finish off. Thank you, God's Alf. We appreciate you. Mrs. C, we got some news coming out of South Africa or what? Let's get to see some financial news of all news. Mrs. C, you there? Nope.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. How are you?
I'm all right, and you?
Excellent. What have you got for us? Very quickly.
No South African news, but
yes.
Taylor Swift is getting married on the 3rd of July.
Oh, Swift. A Swifty move.
Yes.
Yes. What happens when you get married? You lose your surname.
Taylor Swift.
So the Swift disappears?
That's the way to end this show.
Oh, Mrs. C, you're amazing. No news out of South Africa, ladies and gentlemen. But I do have some very big news coming through right now as we speak. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to put together over the course of the weekend a Canadian financial update, a South African financial update, and an Australian financial update. There is news coming out of 3 of these sectors. It is too much to put into one show. I will endeavour to put that together. As I said, keep an eye on the Ripple lending on the XRP ledger to evolve. The ones to watch this week are Terra and Luna and Sol. Again, not financial advice, but certainly keep an eye on all of those. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is on.
That's a laugh, Monkey. Taylor Swift getting married. All right, we got that big video in for the one that we be waiting for every week. Everybody loves Mel there. So we got 5. I'm going to do 5 short ones and then 18-minute Billy Bean that came out.
Breaking news, batshit bonkers Britain, where the Green
Minute
Party
40.
under Zach Palensky are talking about giving people who menstruate an additional 36 paid days leave a year. So that's people who menstruate, not women, obviously, but people who perceive they might be a woman and might menstruate if they perceive they could be a woman will also get that time off. So if you're Stephen and now you identify as a Stephanie, you're a cock in a frock, you'll be able to get paid leave for a period that you're never going to have. In other news, Adam Brooks from GB News very sensibly says that MPs should be drug tested. Having worked at the highest levels at The Sun and also Mail Online, I can tell you Adam Brooks is absolutely correct in what he's saying. MPs should be drug tested on a regular basis. And it does seem that most of them are off their faces most of the time. I mean, take a look at the Labour front bench. That's an indication in and of itself. And finally, one of the brothers who twatted a female police officer at Manchester Airport and broke her nose has now been sentenced to 3.5 years inside. Now, juries couldn't decide if those brothers were guilty because whilst there was CCTV of them actually punching police officers, the jury was also Muslim, and Muslims won't find other Muslims guilty of anything. But this should serve as a warning, not only to who's going to spend 3.5 years inside, but to a wider population. Don't bang your first cousins. Just take a look at the face on that kid. That's it, my darlings. Batshit bonkers Britain.
Okay, that's Katie there. Everybody likes. The next one. Playing some short ones here.
In their mid to late 30s. And before you say anything about video games or ambition or woke women, let me tell you exactly what's happening. It costs nearly $300,000 to raise a child in this country. Childcare costs alone rose 51.8% in just 2 years, and the average annual cost of raising a child under 5 hit nearly $30,000 last year, rising faster than inflation. So truthfully, unchecked corporate greed made having a family a luxury good in 2026. But economics isn't the only factor. Women aged 18 to 30 are now 30 percentage points more liberal than their male peers. It's the widest political gender divide of any generation alive. That didn't happen naturally. A pipeline of podcasters, influencers, and right-wing media told a generation of economically anxious young men that their problems were caused by women and immigrants, not the billionaires extracting their wages. That radicalization has real consequences. Gen Z men who voted for Trump ranked having children as their top definition of success. Gen Z women who voted for Harris ranked it second to last. You can't build a life with someone whose politics say your body is a policy question. The right broke something fundamental between young men and women, and compatibility is a key precursor to child rearing. But what does this delay in starting a family cost us beyond money? When you have your first child at 35, your parents are likely in their early 60s. That leaves them significantly older than the grandparents many of us remember who had the health and energy to be active participants. By the time your kids are teenagers, grandma and grandpa are managing their own decline. Not to mention the fact that you will get less time with your children as a young parent, and they will get less time with you as a healthy one. The whole arc of family life gets compressed. It's one thing to choose that timeline freely, but it's another when socioeconomic factors force it upon all of us. This is what oligarchy extracts. Not just money, but time, closeness, and generational memory. And ironically, it's the same men panicking about birth rates who signed a law that cut food assistance for 7 million people, strips 10 million of health insurance, and guts the nutrition programs that keep pregnant women and infants fed. Elon Musk says that low birth rates keep him up at night, but he helped dismantle the safety net that makes having children survivable. Gen Z isn't refusing to have kids. Gen Z is being priced out of it by the exact people demanding that we reproduce. New data.
Okay, the regular one that we play. Got a 3-minute one. And then we'll do Billy Bean 18-minute one. Billy has an 18-minute.
It was something way more simple, and it just got solved. You need to think about how a normal blockchain works. Every transaction is public. Anyone on earth can see it. Now put yourself in the shoes of a hedge fund or a bank that has all this sophisticated technology. You cannot have the entire world watching your trades, your positions, or who you're dealing with in real time. That exposure was really the deal breaker, not the technology, the transparency aspect. They don't want people seeing their trades. Now there's this hyper secret private blockchain called Canton Network, a blockchain built specifically for institutions with something called sub-transaction privacy. In plain English, the only people that actually deal can see, but regulators can still look when they need to. Private, but compliant, both at once. Then in December 2025, Circle, the creators of USDC, launched USDC-X on Canton. It's a version of the dollar stablecoin that can move privately, still backed one-to-one with real USDC, a private digital dollar only for institutions. Then June 13th, 2026, Kraken, a giant exchange that regular people use, switched on USDC-X. So now private institutions connect directly to where everyday users are actually at. Now the crazy part about Kraken is they have a Fed account. Are you catching what I'm saying? We have the institutions accumulating this stablecoin directly connected to the general public, and Kraken has a Fed master account. Here's the part that should really shake you up. Who tested this thing before it launched? We have Citadel, DRW, TradeWeb, some of the biggest trading firms on the planet running real after-hours financing trades on it. I'm going to put the pieces together for you. The institutions finally get a privacy they always needed. The stablecoin gives them a dollar that settles in an instant. And now consumer exchange is on the on-ramp. The wall between Wall Street, private rail, and your wallet just got a door cut right into it. And here's the irony that's, actually funny about all this. The exact feature crypto used to get mocked for, supposedly lacking privacy, that still satisfies regulators, is the one thing that finally lets trillions of dollars move on chain. People always miss the real moves because they're loud about the wrong things. God's been teaching me this to watch the quiet unlocks. Look at what the silent money is doing. A small switch that opens the entire floodgate just opened. Stay discerning, because nobody hidden stays hidden forever. The wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous.
I hope that one was all right. Daily Bean time, 18 minutes.
Time in Texas about 1 p.m. And thanks for likes and subscribe and share. And some of the things we'll cover: NASA issues its first ever flare watch. President Trump taking care of business. Beijing 9/11. Bolton is guilty. And we have the IRGC hitting ships again in the Strait of Hormuz, with the U.S. military smacking down Iran. So let's get started. So we have this from Space Weather, NASA NOAA. So we have a large sunspot group that has turned to face the Earth 4478 that logically should be emitting strong X flares. But we see no activity by the sunspots, but we do see the first ever NASA warning for a flare watch. In other words, NASA predicts something's going to come from this large sunspot group. So that's going on. We have this yesterday, in the past 48 hours, we know we had 2 earthquakes on each side of Caracas, a 7.2, a 7.5. We also had in Redwood, California, 5.6, and in Japan, a 6.8. So we're seeing continued activity now on the west coast of the U.S., according to Earthmaster, where we've had a swarm of small earthquakes along the California coast, extending up into the Cascadia zone. That Cascadia is like Washington, Oregon, a earthquake area. And we've had in the past week 1,900 small quakes there. We had in the past 24 hours a 3.3 just off the coast of California at the southern end of the Cascadia. So yeah, we have things juicing up. And we had a 6.8. Yeah, the one that was in near the Philippines. I reported on that in my last video, about 25 miles deep. We can now report today, rest in peace, 35, with about 200 injuries. So that was late yesterday, another earthquake near the Philippines. And in Japan, where they also had a strong earthquake in the past 48 hours, Mount Fuji is experiencing strong shake. So that's going on. We had decades ago a prophecy by a Christian prophet, John Paul Jackson, that had to do with Tokyo and a volcano, where he saw a headline, 1 million missing. So yeah, that was about Japan. So that's going on. And we have this. So we have more activity in the last 24 hours by the IRGC, totally outside the scope of the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. And we have this, a military advisor to Ayatollah number 2, Mustafa Khamenei, whose name is Mohsen Reznal, threatens activity against the U.S. that will cause many U.S. casualties, as that happened in the last 24 hours, and threatens the U.S. military and says that Iran is going to use new capabilities. Now, many of us who've been following this know that Iran is in collusion with Russia and China. And hey, what do we see going on in Russia?
1 minute.
For the past several weeks, we've seen massive hits inside Russia by Ukraine using drones and Flamingo missiles. And what do we see in China? Well, I'll give a report later in this episode about a 9/11 event that just happened in China. I guess Russia and China, maybe their intel are not keeping them up to speed. But when you are actively helping an enemy kill U.S. military, then you also become participants. So that's going on. So this military advisor in Iran threatens the U.S. We'll get new technology, and we know the source of that technology. So that's going on. And we have this from U.S. Intel. So June 26, the U.S. military hit Iran in response to Iran hitting a Singapore flagship, the Ever Lovely, near the Strait of Hormuz, which of course violates the MOU. But the IRGC nutballs, maybe they can't read. And we have this. So we've had, and then in response, so Iran hit the Ever Lovely. The U.S. military responded with 3 major explosions in Sirik, Iran, along the southern coast of Iran near the Strait of Hormuz, in an area called Hormozgan. And the U.S. hit drone storage areas, missile storage areas, and radar sites. So that's going on. And we have this from U.S. Intel. Also, the Kurds, who are Iran nationals, hit Iran from Iraq. So that happened today, Saturday. That all happened Friday. Iran hit the ship. The U.S. military responded and hit Iran. Also at the same time, the Iranian nationals called the Kurds moved from Iraq into Iran in a ground invasion and hit Iranian checkpoints in the area of Banay, Iran. And it's being put out by U.S. Intel that the Kurds are causing heavy casualties in the IRGC. And we have this. Yeah, so the Kurds made the ground invasion. So that's going on. And the U.S. intel is that the ground invasion is a U.S. military objective. It's a ground invasion by the Kurds. And now we have in China something like a 9/11 event happening where a plane crashed into a 109-story skyscraper called the Citric Building, located in China Zun area. And we do not know. The plane was named the Sunward, and it is a small two-seater. It's an SA-60L Aurora plane owned by a local Chinese aviation company. And somehow this small two-seater plane smacked right into a 109-story building. So that's going on. And we have this from Ward Carroll, who interviewed Lieutenant Colonel John Rainwater, talking about the B-52s, and I reported on that in several videos about the B-52 being vaporized at Edwards Air Force Base in California. So we had information I put out that the B-52 was carrying a experimental laser loaded into its bomb bay, much stronger than other directed energy weapons that had the capability to vaporize objects. Also, the B-52 was carrying experimental AI radar. It appears that 8 seconds after the plane took off, it was vaporized in air. My take is, this indicates to me possible sabotage. And now we have reports from Ward Carroll that the B-52s have now been cleared
7 minutes.
to resume flying from Edwards Air Force Base. So that's going on. And I notice no one is denying that the plane was vaporized. They are describing it as the plane crashed. Okay, that's going on. We have this from Stephen Gardner. John Bolton has been found guilty of giving secret military information to Iran. The way he did it, he stole classified documents, and then he emailed his wife and daughter on unsecure email platforms so that those platforms could be hacked by Iran. So we don't know what he's going to get. He could get 5 years in jail plus a $2.5 million fine. But John Bolton, guilty of espionage. And we have this from Tusi TV.
Maria,
we have the U.S. military continues strikes against Iran. That's after Iran hit the ever lovely. And the U.S. Targets Iran bases near Sirak, Iran. And that this was late last night. We had up in the air 4 KC-135 Pegasus refuelers and a Poseidon 8. So presumably last night we could have seen more action. We have this, that the U.S. military, that was late last night, began strikes against Iran. And we have the Iran nationals, Kurds, also making a ground invasion into Iran. We also had simultaneous with this, about in the last 48 hours, we had Israel and Lebanon signing a peace agreement in Washington, D.C. Then yesterday and last night, we saw the Lebanese military pushing Hezbollah out of Beirut. So that's going on. And we have this, that under order of the IRGC, the Hezbollah is to occupy Beirut. And that we see then the Lebanese military pushing back against the IRGC-controlled Hezbollah. So that's going on. And we have this. Yeah, the Kurds have taken out 2, I think about 3 IRGC police, and 2 civilians have been injured. That was with the ground invasion by the Kurds into Iran. So that's going on. And the U.S. continues to hit Iran in the area of the Strait of Hormuz. And we have this. We have that, yeah, President Trump orders the hit on IRGC. And we're seeing that take place in the last 12 hours. We have this from Zero Hedge. Today, Saturday, Iran hit another ship in the Strait of Hormuz. The delusional IRGC believe that they control the Strait of Hormuz, in direct contradiction with the MOU. But hey, they're terrorists. So they hit another ship. They hit a ship. The first ship they hit Friday was the Singapore-flagged Ever Lovely. The second ship they have hit is flagged out of Panama. It's a VLCC type ship called the Kiku, Kiku. And they hit that today. So we can anticipate that the U.S. military is going to strike Iran again today. We have Al Jazeera saying that the IRGC now is targeting U.S. sites. And we had today, Saturday, the IRGC also launching drones on Bahrain. Now we have several Gulf states, Bahrain, Kuwait, plus, coming out and strongly condemning the IRGC. Well, what can you say about terrorists? That's all they know. And an MOU, they don't agree to be under the control of. So we can see Iran is a hot mess that's not under the control of the Iranian representatives now currently negotiating in Switzerland with the U.S. So, more to come, I'm sure. This concludes my update. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah, we'll probably see her tonight. All right, that's the first Billy. I got 2 new, a 6-minute one clip, and then a 4-minute on Derek Johnson just came out with update on the banks are closing, you guys. So we'll play those two. And then I got more short clips I want to get to. We'll see how much longer. But I will be back at 7. Like I said, I'm going to cut back on my long videos to help me save my energy. Try to do the average ones. Stay away. The only long ones we do is Mel and Billy Bean and Nick. Oh man, I forgot Nick Shirley. I got 2 Nick Shirley videos too. So these are the first 2 Nick. Or this is 6 minutes on the first one. This came out
multiple times. Montana don't need what Alabama needs. Florida don't need what Texas needs. Texas don't need what New Jersey needs. That's why states are very important. And states also have constitutions as well. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, this stuff it's a lot, but it's simple once you know the terminology and you separate all the other crap that don't matter. All right. But President Trump told you about, he was telling you that we're a government in exile. All right. And they were seeing who was going to do what. Meaning, like, we're going to give them the leash and see what they're going to do. That's why you call it a puppet government, a puppet state, government exile, shadow government. All right. And he told you they're dumb and incompetent. But they showed you, the people that didn't know, they showed you. They showed visually and painfully in your pocketbooks, they showed you the propaganda again. They showed you what you have been used to and didn't realize it. So see, that's why it's not a bad thing that everybody's awake and some people are mad, kicking, screaming, cussing, because they're kicking, mad, screaming, cussing because they didn't realize what the rigmarole looked like before. Now they see what that is. Now they understand what the propaganda and drama was. Now they can see that, all right? And they get to decide, oh, do I want that again? Or do I want a president who knows how to take care of business, get in there and do what has to be done, cut this, cut that, do this, and bring it home to mama and papa, right? Bring it to the U.S. Other nations can defend on their own. That's why, if we can defend on our own, why can't they? So see, you got to get back into the realization and reality of how things operate and function. And liberals, it's funny what we've done to liberals. Liberals are actually polar opposite of what they used to be. We've flipped the narrative on them. They don't realize it yet. But we'll get to that in a minute. So you got to listen to President Trump. The government in exile, the shadow government, he said we had to see what they were going to do, because they're not supposed to do that. They were not supposed to change a thing. They were not supposed to change anything by President Trump. So that showed you. But it's also a strategic plan. So if you were able to take your worst enemy and do something lawful to them that would bring them down lawfully, all right, ethically, morally, and lawfully, but you were given that, go, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to funnel them into a trap lawfully. That's what President Trump and the military has done to the deep state, the cabal, the global alliance. They never told on them along the way. They didn't tattle on them. They enforced the laws, and they funneled all these people down. That's what you're watching. That's why it's important before we move to this next thing right here. So this is civil affairs planning. So you heard your joint publication, civil and military operations. So for all the people out there, we're going to get to that in a minute. For all the people who say, oh, you know, that the military can't operate with civilian, yes, we most certainly can. All right, so I'm going to read that to you and break that down again. Then we'll hop over to the civil planning. But you got to know that civil planning and the psychological operations was one of those insignias that were around old Joe. All right, so military intelligence, Judge Advocate General, civil affairs, and psychological operations. They go together. Now let's read again from Joint Publication 3-57. Now watch this. When people say the military cannot work with civilian operations, they're crazy. They don't know what they're talking about. All right. Our military was founded first in this nation. Don't let anybody say anything else. Nothing otherwise. All right, now watch. 3-57, page 46. Per the Posse Comitatus Act and the Department of Defense regulations, the United States is generally prohibited from employing Title 10 United States Code Department of Defense forces to provide direct military involvement to enforce the law of the United States unless expressly authorized by the Constitution or Congress. See, it's telling you that they generally don't want the regular armed forces in civilian operations. That's true. You don't generally want that. But during rebellion, invasion of public safety, Article 1 and Article 2, so your legislative suspending the Constitution and your president's authority in Article 2 of the Constitution, sometimes it's necessary. It tells you right there, unless authorized by the Constitution or Congress. Oh, well, there you go. Guess what Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2 is? The writ of habeas corpus, the suspension clause. Well, guess what took place in March 2020? Congress suspended the Constitution. Under what? Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550, December the 20, 2019, in the first 180 days clause. It's in reports of Congress from President Trump, August 28, 2020, the Military Justice Act. So it tells you right there, unless authorized by the Constitution or Congress. Well, you have full-fledged proof of that. Why is it in mainstream articles that, oh, they're going to suspend the Constitution, they're going to terminate it? No, they didn't terminate it. They suspended it. Get the terminology correct. They told you what took place right there. That is your full validation right there that the Constitution was suspended. We went to a military government. Now, I can make an argument that we were already a military government, but by visuals, this is what they did. Title 10. So Executive Order 13912, when President Trump federalized 1 million reserve components active duty, those reserves who only serve a federal mission, only, March 27, 2020, he invoked Title 10, Section 12302. That Executive Order 13919 that gave the direct authority to the Secretary of Defense, the federalization authority of the selected reserve. That invoked Title 10, Section 12304. The only person who can federalize the National Guard and reserve components active duty is the President of the United States of America. Title 10. That's your Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is military law. That's why it pays to know it. And you can't have one Title 10 without the other. So any veteran out there?
Okay, I got a second one in about 6 or 7. Second clip on him. Just came out. I'll probably do one more 14-minute one I got.
I'm on Instagram, so I just thought I'd go live while I'm traveling. I am in Naples, Florida. So hello, Naples. I know a lot of people live in Naples, so I can't ever go into seat to table without at least 20 or 30 people coming up to me and recognize me. That's kind of cool. But also South Florida, great place. Except for obviously your hurricane seasons. But anyway, it's beautiful weather down here. It's already getting hot down here, super hot. But anyway, I wanted to go live while I was here. I love it down here. Of course, I'm in my hotel, so I obviously don't have the greatest background. But I try to get some of the window in here, and been watching some pretty big alligators. I got a big alligator on camera and video in this little pond/slough right here by the hotel, so it's really cool. But I mean, I'm talking about like a big alligator. So just wanted to go over. I'm gonna try to keep it as short as possible. I don't know how that'll last, but we'll see. But just some of the updates that you've seen this week. And those of you who are in South Florida, I will be at Trump Doral starting tomorrow through May the 4th. So if you're going to be there, then I will definitely see you there. And also, before we get going really good, I'd like to take my hat off for Michael Jaco, who lost his son unexpectedly this past week. So I don't care what you think about some people. Some of you out there are always questioning why I'm going to certain events, why I'm on certain shows, and I'm like, well, I don't judge certain people, and I'm open to certain people. If they're talking about God, Christ, love, and military, you know. And so anyway, but do a memory for him. So my condolences to Michael Jaco and his family for what they're going through right now. I can't imagine. I don't have children, so I don't know what it's like to lose a child, but I know people who have lost children. That's where we have to put our differences aside. If you have a difference, live and let live. No doubt when there's something that's clear and you can tell someone is, evil, bad, whatever it may be, okay. But too many people are still trying to judge certain people based on things they don't even know about. So if you will, make sure to comment or go over to his page and comment, your condolences to he and his family. But for what condolences are put on the page here, I'll make sure that he sees those as well. But so anyway, over back to obviously what's going on right now. I know a lot of people are still confused. I know a lot of people are I hear the comments, I see the comments, and I'm cool, calm, collective, and I'm also trying to be quiet because I'm in a hotel. No telling who can hear what, you never know. But we are in the mellow stages anyway. It may not seem that way or look that way or feel that way to some of you, but we are in more of the golden age, more of the mellow stages going into that than it is anything else. Where I'm at now in my life, really, in reality, my sole purpose now is just to show people what President Trump did, how the military pulled it off lawfully, and then also the world leaders and leaders, because really we're in the aftermath of it now in another kind of way. I always hold up the ball cap 45-47. The whole thing is an operation. And too many people, God love you, too many people in my inbox and the comment boxes are still trying to treat everything as a real time. It's real in another manner, but it's a special operation lawfully. Every single thing that is put together that you're watching was done lawfully. And it has a blueprint with a chronological order of laws and orders. And if every person who claims to be a patriot, claims to be a Republican, claims to be a conservative, claims to be neutral, if every person who loves this nation and wants to see it thrive and wants to see, if every single person would read the blueprint of the laws and the orders that made it possible for this to take place, that would be all you would need. You wouldn't have to sit all day long and listen to podcasts if you don't want to. Because a lot of the people are just your surface level and or regurgitators and or Hansel and Gretel throw you a crumb. All right, we're live.
Okay, those are the two new ones of Derek Johnson. Yep. Prayers are to Michael Jacobs' son there. Yep. Sad when you lose somebody. So that was good that Derek Johnson came out and did that. I'm going to play a 12-minute one to end the show with and say the other stuff for tonight. Hopefully everybody will be back at 7 tonight. So we'll get this last 12-minute one in.
congressional primaries. At victory parties, audience chanted, "You're next," as House Leader Hakeem Jeffries appeared on the TV screen. And a Republican rep even commented, "Democrats have a Bolshevik
one that we
revolution
always
going
play.
on in their primaries." But the New York Times said the win cemented Mandami as, and I'm quoting, "the unquestioned political kingmaker of the nation's cultural and financial capital." And all three winners are from the DSA, the misnamed Democratic Socialists of America. So check out this headline in Politico. Republicans celebrate socialist wins in Democratic primaries. Many Republicans think it's a good development. They say it will make the midterms easier to win because Americans don't like socialists. But nobody, not the Times, not Politico, is going to show you what I'm going to tell you about in this video. It will help you make sense of what Mandami and his communists are really for and the truth about how they're being used and who is using them. I'm Barbara Boyd. I've spent decades now tracking how political movements are manufactured and deployed against nations that resist. Today, I'm going to first talk about the DSA's actual program. Then we'll talk about the dead communist writer whose ideas are being retooled right now by both the DSA and, get this, the Council on Foreign Relations. And finally, how the modern British financial empire has always used communists for its goals. But before we dig in, hit that like button right now and share this video. It increases our reach on YouTube. The economic platform, free transit, rent freezes, tax the billionaires, that's the DSA's sales pitch. But the man at the center of their real thinking is right there in their internal educational program. That's the name, Antonio Gramsci. And he's a communist, not a socialist. He proposed that only ruthless attacks on culture, not economic benefits for workers, will make revolution possible. Journalist Matt Taibbi found the clearest statement of what the DSA's real target is. One of the new DSA members of Congress, Dorothea Chevalier, was a member of the Columbia University Apartheid Disinvestment Group, i.e. disinvestment in Israel. The group that posted a since-deleted Instagram saying, "We are Westerners committed to the total eradication of Western civilization." Now, if you heard a candidate say that out loud, you'd think they'd lose in a landslide. So why did they win? Because the real work happened years before Election Day. The DSA has spent years building what they call a hegemonic counterculture in New York City, attacking men, the patriarchy, Christianity, the police, closed borders, and the idea that the American Revolution is anything other than a story of racist land theft. That attack has been everywhere since Barack Obama's presidency. It's been taught in the schools for 2 generations now. Taibbi describes the movement's base as largely young, media-savvy professionals, grad students with Instagram accounts, he calls them. Much of this city's minority and working population oppose them. One of the incumbents they beat was the chair of the House Hispanic Caucus, Representative Adriano Espoe. The other, Dan Goldman, led the impeachment efforts against Donald Trump. They threw him out because he supports Israel. Just this month, the DSA published a platform that does away with the Constitution itself. It scraps the U.S. Senate, defunds the Department of War, grants amnesty to all immigrants, and replaces the president and the Supreme Court with bodies chosen by and subordinate to Congress. And they didn't win, as Taibbi points out, just because they caught the cultural attack wave Barack Obama set into motion. They won because sections of this nation's elites are enamored with them. And like communist movements throughout history, they have friends in high places who are using them for their own purposes. Now, you'd think that Karl Marx would be the DSA's patron saint, but instead it's Gramsci, a man who died in prison in 1937. And Gramsci's name is also in the opening sentence of the Council on Foreign Relations' new blueprint for what they're calling a post-Trump world. We're going there next, but if you're intrigued with what I'm saying here, you need to be on board with our free newsletter. There's lots more of the real story there. The link is in the description. In 1926, Antonio Gramsci, the General Secretary of the Italian Communist Party, was arrested by Mussolini's fascist government and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Sick, Shunned by the Soviets, by any reasonable expectation, he should have died in that cell, forgotten. He didn't. He survived 11 years and produced 33 handwritten notebooks, over 2,000 pages, that revived Marxist theory after the Russian model failed to spark additional revolutions. Every modern insurgent movement, from the Frankfurt School's New Left to critical race theory to the DSA, traces its intellectual ideas to those notebooks. What did Gramsci say? He said, revolutions fail when you seize political power, but leave the culture intact, the national culture intact, because the people still believe in the civilization you overthrew. So the revolution has to happen in the culture first. You have to make people hate their own culture, their own civilization, not disagree with it, hate it. And then once the culture is hollowed out, the political takeover is just a cleanup operation. Sound familiar? This is the explicit theoretical foundation of the DSA's educational program and much of what an entire generation of our young people have been taught. But how did those notebooks escape Mussolini's prison? His helper was Piero Sraffa. Sraffa was an Italian Marxist economist. He had lived in London since the 1920s. He held a research fellowship at Trinity College, Cambridge, under the direct sponsorship of Lord John Maynard Keynes. Keynes, the man whose monetary theories were designed above all to preserve the power of the City of London and the British Empire, the chairman of Britain's Malthusian Society, the vice chairman of the Eugenics Society, the sponsor of a Marxist. Keynes' protege kept the most dangerous Marxist theorist in Europe supplied with books, maintained his connection to the outside world, arranged the publication of the notebooks, and was, by every account, the last friend Gramsci had before he died. Now, starting this May, the Council on Foreign Relations, the sister institution to London's Chatham House, the controllers of our foreign policy for years, launched a multi-year project to define what comes after Trump. They're writing papers to build what they call a consensus for the, quote, post-Trump world, i.e., for their return to power. They expect that return to come soon if the Democrats take the midterms and paralyze Trump's agenda. Their urgent planning doesn't indicate that they expect a Vance-Rubio ticket will continue the Trump revolution for 8 years after 2028. Guess who the lead essay cites in its first sentence? Antonio Gramsci. CFR senior fellow Charles Kupchan opens his essay with Gramsci's most famous line, written from prison in 1930, about a world where the old order is dying and the new cannot yet be born, and, quote, a great variety of morbid symptoms appear. In his piece, Kupchan calls Gramsci an anti-fascist. Think about that. Not a communist, which he was, an anti-fascist, the justification of our current street thugs for all of their violence. For Kupchan, the morbid symptoms consist in the existence of one man, Donald Trump. His essay attacks the reindustrialization of America as, quote, delusional. The broader CFR series attacks tariffs, protectionism, and sovereign national movements across Europe and the United States. The CFR wants to reform the globalist system, not end it. They acknowledge the populations subjected to it have come to hate it, but they insist any reform must preserve every feature that has given them power and made them rich. So why is Gramsci the shared reference point right now at the same moment for both the revolutionary DSA left and the Establishment Council on Foreign Relations? Well, doesn't that really signal their intent? They're clearly not planning a peaceful transition of power led by a fair election. That answer also takes us to London and some surprising history about what communism is and how it has been used by British elites. Like Gramsci, Karl Marx's works gains prominence because of his British sponsors. Marx lived in London for 34 years. He wrote Das Kapital in the reading room of the British Museum. He's buried in Highgate Cemetery in London, and he was funded throughout his life by Friedrich Engels, a wealthy industrialist based in Manchester, and David Urquhart, a son of the British aristocracy. In his book, How the British Invented Communism and Blamed the Jews, author Richard Poe documents how British intelligence deliberately hosted anarchists and revolutionaries in London and used their theories to launch color revolutions against the empire's rivals. In Marx's case, the primary target was Russia, although he took shots at Hamilton and Friedrich List too. When Marx's theory lost its revolutionary punch after Russia, the British imperial network turned to Gramsci's vision, cultural Marxism, the war against Western civilization from within. British imperial networks fund and protect radical intellectual movements, not because they believe in them, but because they are useful. Communism aimed at Russia, a counterculture aimed at America beginning in the 1960s. The street thugs are there to do the mop-up. Which brings us to today. What Donald Trump's entire economic program represents is the most serious revival of the American system of political economy in generations. Reindustrialization, tariffs, sovereign manufacturing, a foreign policy based on the dignity of nation states rather than submission to globalist institutions. Like our forefathers, his program is based on the best that Western civilization developed in terms of government and statecraft. But even more than that is the revival of the American spirit, which dares to do big things, to meet the biggest challenges, to conquer new frontiers. It's what the highest moments of Western civilization have been about. This is a deadly threat to the City of London's survival. Now, 3 DSA members committed to the eradication of Western civilization are heading to Congress. The elites at the Council on Foreign Relations are planning for a post-Trump world. They're both on the same page. The DSA is just one of their insurgent instruments. Think back to all of the attacks against Donald Trump during his first term. Where did they come from? London. They understood better than anyone else the threat that Donald Trump, his American system economics, and his revival of the American productive spirit represented to their system. So how do we defeat this? Probably not, as Republicans suggest, by constantly flogging how crazy these people are, although they are crazy. There's a lot more we have to do. We have to lift people's eyes to the new world the president and his cabinet are building. We have to make the culture Donald Trump is recreating, American culture, self-conscious to our people. It's the culture that saw no challenge as unbeatable, that sought out new frontiers and created and invented our way out of every difficulty. The American system of economics, implemented by Hamilton, Lincoln, McKinley, Roosevelt, and in the run-up to World War II, produced a culture of optimism, a culture which lived to give the next generation a better future. It was based on nurturing the minds and productivity of the working class in future-oriented projects, not make-work projects or handouts. Most people don't have a clue about this because the Republicans who should be amplifying the president's policies and accomplishments are, in many cases, stuck in the same old dead world the CFR is seeking to resuscitate. This is an urgent mission as the midterm clock is ticking. We need to go fast. Please like and share this video as widely as you can. And if you
Okay, that's one of our regular channel lady, her other partner. They're both on the same channel. All right, you guys. Well, show number 1 down, and I feel a little better not doing those long videos. Only the important ones, like I was saying. Nell's video, and Billy. Chico, you're sleepy. Yeah, Kay, it's kind of warm today. He's warm. Aren't you? You warm? So, a lot of good stuff on the first show. Yeah, this is Chico. Rescue dog. I know. So, we'll see you back around 7. We'll go at least an hour, maybe 2 hours, see what happens. And, thanks, Bob. We got Carol, or Kay, Lucy, and Tim in today. So So everybody, God bless everybody. Love all. Everybody's at the like and stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith, and never give up. Signing off, Chico the Dude. So tonight at 7 or so, and see you in a little bit.